Good afternoon. I am Keith Marks, Executive Director at Next Stage Arts. Thank you for joining us for Arts Unite Windham. We have 7 arts organizations presenting throughout the evening from 4 to 8 p.m. We're glad you tuned in. We're raising money and awareness for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. With me is Sharon Fantel, and she's our first guest MC of the evening. She is the board chair of the Arts Council of Windham County.
Hi there.
Hi, Sharon.
I'm really happy to be here.
So when we're doing things like this about collaboration, can you kind of speak about that, why that's important in Windham County?
I can't think of a Windham County where people don't collaborate, and so this feels like a great expression of the work that people do constantly in arts organizations and artists working together. And it's something that we're excited about at the Arts Council, especially to see the connection between art and social justice. So we're happy to be here, and I'm really excited and curious to see what the evening holds. So,
thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
So this is an evening where we hope you'll donate. Inside the message box, inside the chat, there'll be a link. There's also below, you can find a link to donate. Anything helps, and all the net proceeds will be going right to the NAACP of Windham County and to the Root Social Justice Center. So this evening, our first artist is going to be performing at Next Stage, and it is Samira Evans, and she will be accompanied by, I have my notes here to make sure that I'm on it. We have pianist Franz Robert, bassist Ron Smith, and on drums, Jacob Smith. So I'd like to welcome Samira Evans. Thank you very much.
till you come back to me. That's the way it will be. A day in the All right. So happy to be here with all of you, and glad you have joined us. And now we're going to do a very happy tune that I really enjoy. We're going to feature this. keep that sunny. Yeah, I like the sunny side of the street, don't you? All right. We got a little one for you. Maybe a little funky for you. Yeah. Oh, come on now. Here we go, here we go. Can we bring the bass up a little bit? Can we bring the bass up? Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. When you're down in trouble and you need some loving hand, and nothing is going right. Oh, just call my name. Soon I will be there. Brighten even your darkest night. Just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. See you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yeah, this is a very special event. And I can't help but want to sing this song right now. Because we all need this, and I know that what we're doing today will help us believe it in what we're doing all over the country right now, with all the awareness of what's needed for human rights. We can do this. Yes, indeed. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. That we shall overcome. And that one day will be Franz Marvin, Ron Jacob, Ron Smith, Jacob Smith. Thank you.
Samira Evans. It's such a strange thing to walk into an empty theater after the music like this and you have it's just silence. It's such a strange, unique situation. So I hope everybody's applauding at home. Thank you, Samira. We appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for being here, backing her up. So my name is Keith Marks. Encouraging you tonight, we're raising money for the Root Social Justice Center and for the Windham County NAACP. In the chat box, there's a link there. We'd hope you donate. With me is Sharon Fantel. She is the
board chair
of the Arts Council of Windham County. So we real briefly just kind of tell me about the Arts Council.
Sure. First, I want to say thank you so much. I haven't sat and listened to live music in a while, and that was beautiful just to sit backstage and to hear you play. Thank you so much. So the Arts Council of Windham County, we are a small team of creative practitioners, administrators, artists, and one of the things that we manage is the Town Arts Fund, which we inaugurated this year and hope to continue. And ultimately, we are not doing a lot at the moment, given COVID. We're already kind of working with a very slow and emergent process of, convenings and programming, but our work is really focused on coalition building and just elevating the work that's already happening in our community. So this is a great opportunity.
If people want more information about the Arts Council, where can they find it?
They can go to Arts Council, Arts Windham. Oh my gosh.
Google it.
Info artswindhamcounty.org. Sorry about that. Info artswindhamcounty.org or artswindhamcounty.org.
Thank you, Sharon, for being here. And we thank the Arts Council of Windham County for helping support us in this work this evening. Right now, we're going to go to New England Youth Theater, and we are going to see a piece called Freedom. So we'll see you in a few minutes. We'll be back after New England Youth Theater. Thank you.
Welcome to the New England Youth Theater. My name is Malcolm Tolino, and today we'll just be showing you a sprinkling of the kind of magic we can create here at NUIT. Today, we'll be hearing from two incredible NUIT alums, Cassie Dunn and Aiden Flower Desjardins. They'll be singing Freedom by Kerrigan and Loudermilk, while I, another NUIT alum, accompany them on the piano. Enjoy the show, and please donate to this important cause.
The sun is shining. Let's get in the car and just remember. Let's go. Get in, loser. Kelly drove on all of our road trips. She believed in listening to the highway. You start driving and keep driving. There's no stopping till Kelly says we will ride. You're not doing it right. Doing what? You're not in it. What are you talking about? You're not feeling it, Sam. Talk about what it felt like. What did it feel like? You remember. Feeling the wind blowing your hair. You're not even trying. I am. Try harder. Picking a road and going anywhere. Remember the biker bar? Oh, God. We're heading south. And the biker, we're maybe west. We don't know much. We're making up the rest. Tap the atlas. Don't read the road signs. Driving for the sake of driving anywhere, that's freedom. Freedom. What bug do you have up your ass? I don't have a bug up my ass. Do you even realize how epic this weekend is going to be? There are like 6 parties and I'm taking this lecture called Sex. You have to come. I want a break. I don't really feel like going to class. Okay, so what do you want to do? I don't know. Spin around. See that fork up ahead? Yeah. One way leads to my school, and the other way leads somewhere else. Which way do you want to turn? I don't know. If you don't choose, we're gonna pick that house left or right. Hold on, looking at a map. House of Ranges! Let's go! Very slow, Brown. So, where are we going? I have no idea. Counting the miles as we go past. The sun is on, knowing that every mile could be our last. Watching the day go by, we won't look back. We never will. You've come too far until we hit Nashville. Freedom, freedom, freedom. So, what do you want to do next? Make a right. In life, Sam. What do you want? I don't know. I want to get my license. Bigger. I want the deafening sound of driving fast with the windows down. More. I want to break rules and do something unexpected. What? I want Arby's. I just want to this moment right now. I want to go skinny dipping in the ocean. I want to drive forever. And I'm almost starting to feel it. Hope she took a day and made it such freedom. The cheap restaurants. Freedom. Let's go. Pick a road, pick a highway. Any road is going my way. Let's go, live it up. No complicated philosophies, no college, no career, no kids, no fancy house, no. Let's go. Any road but the one we're on. No college, no career, no screaming kids, no mortgage driving anywhere, just driving straight into the dawn. That's freedom. Kelly driving me Just two girls with nowhere we have to be. Now she's laughing, and I start laughing. So like a memory. The sun is so bright that I'm squinting, and it feels like I found freedom. Freedom. Yeah. Driving past the radio plant. So been standing like we're rock stars. Freedom, freedom, freedom.
Thanks you to New England Youth Theater. My name is Keith. We are here at Next Stage raising money for the Root Social Justice Center, and click the link in the chat box to donate. With me right now is Robert McBride. Robert is a longtime art supporter in the area. And Robert, will you please tell me about something you run called Southern Vermont Creative Network?
Well, yep, this is an initiative, the Vermont Creative Network, which is statewide initiative of the Vermont Arts Council that was actually put in effect with an act of the Vermont legislature about 4 years ago, where we work on the economic development of the arts and showing the economic impact that artists and arts organizations have throughout the state. The state is divided into 6 zones. We all down here in Windham and Bennington County are in the 6th zone, and I'm the zone coordinator. And with the figures that we've gathered over the last several years, it looks like artists and people working for arts organizations account for about 9% of the Vermont workforce, wow, which is a significant piece of the workforce which rarely gets mentioned in economic plans or stuff like you would see agriculture, manufacturing, et cetera. But we might actually be higher than some of those other sectors of the economy. So one of our major goals is to make sure we support artists and arts organizations, but understand that we as artists and arts organizations are a constituency which wield economic power and political power that we need to get out there and assert more.
And this is a statewide initiative?
Statewide initiative handled by the Vermont Arts Council out of Montpelier.
And what kinds of things can people expect to see from the Southern Vermont Creative Network?
Well, basically what I've been focusing on a little bit before COVID, it's mostly a resource building thing, putting people in connection. So Sharon, who you just heard from, the Arts Council of Windham County, the Weston Playhouse, we work with all the organizations in town to try to connect them. There's no grant money to be applied for or anything with this. It's really building our strength and our knowledge. And right now I've been working on a newsletter that has gathered about 500 creatives in both counties that we can reach directly with information, a lot through the COVIDs with the relief funding and different things like that. So if you get in touch with me through the Rockingham Arts and Museum Project, which I run in Bellows Falls, we can make sure you get on that list if you are not already on that list to receive information.
That's great. Yeah, the Southern Vermont Creative Network has been instrumental in helping me, who has moved here a few months ago, get rooted and connected into the arts and culture scene. So the work is very important, and we appreciate that the Vermont Arts Council is taking up this mantle and this initiative. Right now, we're going to go over to the Vermont Jazz Center. And right now, the executive director is also a performer, Eugene Uman, who's a wonderful piano player, wonderful arts administrator, wonderful person. He's going to be playing 2 10-minute duo sets, one with a percussionist named Julian Gersten and another one with trumpeter Rob Freeberg. And we'll take it away, Vermont Jazz Center. Thank you.
4, 3, 2.
Live TV, live internet. So my name is Keith Marks. I'm the executive director at Next Stage Arts Project in Putney, Vermont, and you are watching Arts Unite Windham, and we appreciate your support. We are raising money for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. Appreciate you clicking the link and donating, and that would be great. And so right now we have Robert McBride who's back, and so a lot of the things that we're doing tonight really are, we're saying Windham County, but a lot of it is Brattleboro heavy, and then in Putney. And so you're a citizen of Bellows Falls?
Yep, exactly. The Duchy of Bellows Falls.
Will you speak to Bellows Falls and the art scene there and what's going on, like the Renaissance and what you guys are doing to lift it up?
Well, it started about 25 years ago, and I founded an organization called the Rockingham Arts and Museum Project, or RAMP, which is basically an arts advocacy organization. Rather than do programming per se, we've been involved with affordable housing for artists, hosting regular artist town meetings quarterly, sitting on boards of directors, working with our local Fact TV to spread the word about information that's coming, and also with Wool FM, Black Sheep Radio, the community radio station, to do things. And then recently, as I discussed before, being involved with this whole Vermont Creative Network statewide initiative around artists and arts organizations and the economic impact. So Bellows Falls, when I first moved there in 1995, did not particularly have a vocabulary for the arts, but we made interesting partnerships with our statewide housing people to take over an old building, the Exner Block, and create affordable housing for artists. So we have 10 live workspaces for artists right in the center of our community. And from that, another project was done in the Howard Block. So working with a housing organization like Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust is very important for arts organizations and artists to be aware of, because most of the artists I know qualify for the guidelines of affordable housing. So really go to Windsor, see if they have apartments available, because they're really beautiful apartments. But most artists do not think about going there when they're looking for apartments to stay in and stuff. So that's been a thing. And then as we've developed RAMP, we've managed to attract other people. Charlie Hunter came in early on with Flying Under Radar and music series. Gary Smith, who subsequently opened Popolo, but started the Wool FM radio station and started a sound studio downtown.
There's also, I think, Stage 33.
Stage 33, yep. I want to talk about Mark Pipcorn, who does great work over at the Wool FM area there, and the work that he's creating, been building over the last few years. Stone Church Arts, we have our Stone Church Arts up on the hill in the old Emmanuel Episcopal Church. And what I like about Bellows Falls is that it's a village, and as odd as it sounds for an arts organization development person like myself to say, I really don't want Bellows Falls to be known as an arts community. I want it to be known as a community that artists feel comfortable living in, but we're not pushing anyone away. We're not saying arts are the only way, but we're integrating that into the vitality and the long-term economic sustainability of the community. That's so great. It's a great village. It's different than Brattleboro. It's so interesting talking up here in Vermont, where we only have 620,000 people, to talk about the difference between a community that has 3,000 and 12,000. But it's a huge difference of what those communities become. And I really believe in arts in rural communities throughout the country. And we have our own interesting petri dish. Lots of times when you go to national conferences, they don't really address rural arts. They think you're just an organization that's waiting to grow up and become an urban arts center. But the rural art scene is a totally vibrant scene.
Yeah, and we feel really lucky to be here in Windham County with so many. I mean, one of the reasons why we started Arts Unite Windham was the idea that there's so much breadth and depth of arts and culture here in a small 40,000 people, and you know, there's just so much for families to do and artists to get into and community. So yeah, we really feel passionate about this area. So thank you very much for the work you're doing.
Just say, the great thing about it is the access we have to people and artists here. You know, the quality of it. In New York, you'd never meet them unless you're introduced. Here, you can go up to them after a concert like Samira and talk. So the great access on all levels in Vermont that we have to our legislators, et cetera, is amazing.
So now we're going to shift gears. We're going to go over to Sandglass Theater. There's going to be a piece that they're going to perform called Give Me One More Day. It's an original cranky made by Inez Zeller-Bass, performed by Eric Bass and Inez Zeller-Bass, and the music is composed by David Surratt. We appreciate you guys tuning in and clicking that link and donating. Take it away, Sandglass.
One More Day, a song by David Surratt. Give me one more day, you right here beside me. Give me one more day, I'll take the evening to let the music play. I feel the beat inside me. Give me one more day for me to be in love with you.
Coffee in my cup,
Sunshine on the table,
the world is waking up.
not a lot to say,
Walking through this world,
as long as we are able.
I don't want very much.
Just give me one more day. Give me one more day. You right here beside me. Give me one more day. I'll take the evening to let the music play. I feel the beat inside me. Give me one more day for me to be in love with you. I have felt the rain falling through my fingers,
Leaned into the wind, seen the sky turn gray.
I have felt your touch upon my body linger.
I don't want very much.
Just give me one more day. Give me one more day. You right here beside me. Give me one more day. I'll take the evening to let the music play. I feel the beat inside me. Give me one more day for me to be in love with you.
Tomorrow never knows what today will turn to.
Yesterday is gone, trouble's here to stay.
Love will carry on, although its flame will burn you.
Give me just a touch,
Just
give me one more day. Give me one more day. With you right here beside me. Give me one more day. I'll take the evening to let the music play. I feel the beat inside me. Give me one more day for me to be in love with you.
Big thank you to the Vermont Jazz Center. We appreciate working with them incredibly. They're an incredible organization. Right now, we are joined by Wendy O'Connell. Wendy has a show on BCTV, Here We Are, and it's Brattleboro's community talk show. And it kind of feels like everybody in this community is like you're really wrapped into it once you're on Wendy's show. And I had the opportunity to be on Wendy's show, and we had such a good connection. And it seems like she's such a pivot for so many people in this community. It made sense to bring her on. So Wendy, I just want to say thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
Well, thank you so much, Keith. That was a great intro. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So will you kind of give us a background about Here We Are and the role of BCTV in the community?
Absolutely, yes. I'm so happy to, and it's great to have a chance to do that. My show really came out of just really wanting a place where people from the community could come on and talk about who they are, what they do, what kinds of things interest them. And I wanted to be extremely diverse, so it's been all ages, all kinds of people, from bartenders to the town manager to the chief of police, and many of the folks who are on this live streaming, Samira and Shoshana and Elsie and Serenity from NECA. So it's wonderful, and I get the chance every week to talk to people, new people, and people who are just doing extraordinary things in the community, including Root Social Justice and the NAACP here in town. So I'm very glad to be able to do it. And also, I am so grateful to BCTV, Brattleboro Community Television, which is one of our finest and most amazing resources in this town. And I still feel like it's a treasure that a lot of people don't know about, but it's an amazing platform for so many different things. It's not just it's very much the arts, but it's also the select board meetings that have gone on lately for 5 hours. And there's a cameraman behind that camera doing it. And the church services, and also the literary festival, and also Derek Jordan's fabulous World Fusion show. But it's held together by a core group of people, and it's just 4 people who are there every day in the station. And Court Trowbridge, who most people know, and Brian Bashaw, who is our main producer, and Nolan Edgar, and Vlasta Popelka, who keeps us all together. And it's an amazing organization that is able to do this outrageous marathon production of Keith's, all with good humor, all with tons of energy, and all bringing us all together. And to me, that's the major asset of BCTV, and I think it's something that we can all take more advantage of. I think I always knew about community television. I had no idea the depth and the breadth of what people are doing out there. The people in the field, many of whom are volunteers. The list is too long to name, but it's a resource that I think we can all not only appreciate, but start tuning in to, and find these little treasures, the quarantine sessions that Next Stage has been doing during the pandemic, the Peter Fish case and his COVID show that was on, and he was getting people from all over giving almost daily reports for a while about what was going on. So anyway, I think
that to the point though,
yes,
is that sometimes people, where I moved from in Jacksonville, Florida, there is no real community access TV station where common people can start a talk show to bring community members on. And so having access to a community-run television station is a powerful resource for a community to be able to communicate. And for us, BCTV is powering this whole thing. They showed up last week, and it hasn't been an easy event to produce, with 7 arts organizations and a fundraising component on top of that for two
That's right.
Organizations. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes manpower that I just kind of feel like when Wendy and I were speaking about what we wanted to talk about, Wendy kind of said, can we talk about BCTV? And it just a natural fit for that.
Yeah, it's a real treasure, and it's powerful, and it's local. It's all local. So I always encourage people to tune into their neighbors and to check out the channels, which the schedules are all in the papers. So.
And your show, Here We Are, this
Yes.
is a weekly show?
It's a weekly show. Yep, we have people from all of the different parts of this community coming on. And so each week is completely different, and you will get a different picture of our community, having had half an hour is a short period of time, but you can go really deep in half an hour. And it's an amazing experience.
Yeah, it really is worth watching, and BCTV is definitely worth plugging into, and we're going to be working with them in the future with Next Stage, and so I think this is a community resource that more people, it needs to be amplified and lifted up, and so we definitely want to say thank you.
And we all appreciate your support for BCTV as well.
So we are still raising money for the Windham County NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center. This is really what this afternoon's program is about. All the arts organizations came together with the support of Arts Council Windham County and BCTV. And when all the organizations got together and we talked about how this event, everybody really wanted to speak to the moment. And so raising money for social justice and social equity really rang with everybody. And so this is what this afternoon is about. And we really appreciate if you would click the link in the chat box, donate, help us, raise awareness, raise money for these organizations that are doing the really tough work in our community in helping create social equity. So now we're going to move over into the Latchis Theater. Latchis, I went down there a few months ago and I met with John Potter, who's the executive director at the Latchis. And when we were talking about how to bring the Latchis into tonight's show, we were a little unsure whether or not we should be just booking the stage and how we wanted to do it. And in conversation, John started waxing philosophically around the artwork that is in the main theater at Latchis. And there's a story, it's a message that's going on. And I felt that this was a really powerful message that everybody needed to hear. And I asked, do many people know this? He said, no, not really. This isn't something we've really promoted. So I've asked John if he would be willing to jump on and tell us about all the artwork that is around the theater. So without further ado, John Potter and the Latchis Theater. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Potter. I'm the executive director of the Latchis, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to the beautiful and historic Latchis Theater, which is just 2 months away from celebrating its 82nd birthday. I'd like to give a shout out right now and express my gratitude and appreciation for all the people who have made Arts United Windham happen. We are very pleased and honored to be standing in solidarity with and collaborating with all of our wonderful friends in the arts community of Windham County, and we appreciate this opportunity to be with you. We also want to thank you for tuning in and watching this and taking part in this unique and historic event, and to express our appreciation for you and for everyone involved for devoting resources from this event to the Black Lives Matter movement, and particularly to the Root Social Justice System and the local NAACP. We appreciate your support in that effort. When I first started at the Latchis, I met a guy who told me that when he came to the movies as a child with his mother, as they were waiting for the movies to start at the Latchis, they would look up at the murals on the wall of our main theater and make up stories that tried to explain them. And that now that he goes here with his children, he does the same thing. And I think that's marvelous, and we really appreciate that we can be a source of inspiration and creativity. As it turns out, the murals in our theater do tell a very interesting and powerful story, one which speaks to the impact and importance of the theater in our lives and in the lives of our communities. And I'd like to give you a little chance at hearing that story. This story really came to light to us with the help of Dr. Anthony Tuck, who is a professor of archaeology and mythology at UMass Amherst, and we want to express our appreciation and acknowledge his scholarship in helping us shed light on the murals in our main theater. These murals tell the story of the importance of theater to a community. And the first mural we're going to start with to explain this story is this one right over here. Now, what you saw in that mural was a young man sleeping and a woman approaching him with a lamp and a knife. And this mural is telling the story of Cupid and Psyche from Greek mythology. And it's a long and convoluted story, and I won't get into all the details. But in this particular scene, Psyche has been sent to the bedroom where Cupid is sleeping because she thinks mistakenly that Cupid is a hideous monster. So she has been sent to kill him. At the very last minute, he is revealed to her as her love, as this beautiful, wonderful love. And she doesn't kill him. And then they go on with their various adventures. What this mural, and by the way, our murals were painted by Louis Jambord, a classically trained European artist who came over to this country after World War I and was brought in to paint the murals of the Latchis. And what Jambord is addressing in this mural is a very powerful moment of revelation. It speaks very clearly to the power of theater to reveal things to us, to shed great light on our lives, to shock and startle us and lift us out of the stories of our everyday lives and into the stories that are unfolding in the theater. And this is a very powerful testament of Jambord's to the impact of theater as a revelatory force in our lives. And I'm sure we can all think of times here at the Latchis when we've experienced something like that. I'd like to turn now to the next mural right up here. What we have up there is an image of Bacchus and his revelers. And the mural itself is a pretty direct quotation of a great masterpiece painting by Titian, which hangs in the National Gallery of London. Now, Bacchus and his revelers were known for having a good time. Bacchus is the god of wine. And I certainly feel that people who I know who are involved in theater, they know how to have a good time, and they're a lot of fun to be with. Deeper than that, however, is the fact that Bacchus is hailed as a divinity of theater and actors and performers. And Bacchus was acclaimed for having the powers of inspiration and the power to elicit ecstasy in his revelers. And we think this mural certainly speaks to that side of theater, the ability to elicit great joy and ecstasy and great passion, in addition to paying homage to theatrical performers. It's interesting to note that some scholars think that the roots of theater itself lie in very early ancient rituals and celebration of Bacchus. So this is an homage to the very beginnings of theater, carrying all the way through to this day. So we've covered this side of the theater. And this side, I like to say, speaks to the power of what theater is capable of doing for us and what it may do for us in our lives. We're going to turn now to the other side, murals at the other side of our theater, which bring the conversation, shift the attention over to our role toward nurturing and taking care of theater and what our responsibility is. And we're going to start with this mural right here. What we see in that mural is very clearly a loving, nurturing scene, a mother with her two children, and it's a very sweet, I think, composition. That mother is Latona, who was the mistress of Jupiter, and those children are Apollo and Diana. And Apollo is a divinity who is often associated with theater, performance, music, and song. So very clearly we have a nurturing image that not only speaks to our role in nurturing the younger people in our community, but also, because we are witnessing Apollo being nurtured, it speaks to our role that we have in nurturing and raising up and bringing up and fostering the creative arts in our community. And so this is it's my favorite mural. I think it's a very loving scene. And we're going to turn now and carry that theme forward to the final mural on our walls, and it's this one right here. So in this mural, we see a centaur, and he's carrying a young man on his back, as centaurs, I guess, are wont to do. This centaur is named Chiron, and he was considered in ancient times the wisest and most just of all the centaurs, and it is his responsibility to be the teacher, the educator of Achilles, who is the divinity riding on his back. And so this image speaks very strongly to two things. Certainly, the role of theater to educate us. In addition to revelation and inspiration and joy, very clearly theater and our experiences here can be part of our enlightenment and education. But beyond that, it speaks to the role we have in education, in stewardship, in nurturing the coming generations. Education is not a process that simply begins and ends with the generation being taught. The generation being taught becomes the generation that teaches the next generation. And it's a very deep and powerful generational experience and a commitment we all have to educate the young people in our community so that they can come up and take care of subsequent generations. So this image speaks very strongly to me of our responsibility to education and to nurturing the future generations who will come and take care of our community and take care of our creative life and take care of each other. So it's a very powerful image of education and the responsibility that we all have to education. The additional feature on that mural is a three-columned structure, and we'll pan back over to that. When Dr. Anthony Tuck came to this theater, that was the first thing that he honed in on, and he had a direct connection with that. And it had always been a detail that I had not paid much attention to, thinking it was merely decorative. And he said, no, I know exactly what that is and where that is. I've done a dig nearby. And that is an actual building, a quote of an actual building that is still in Athens today at the base of the Acropolis. And this is a monument to Lysicrates. And Lysicrates was known in ancient times as a great patron of the arts. And so this is a monument to a patron of the arts. And so as we look at that mural, not only do we see the responsibility of education and of fostering our youth, but we also see a very powerful visual reminder of the responsibility of stewardship, of the shared responsibility we all have to nurture and take care of the arts and to ensure that the arts and the spaces in which the arts takes place are around for future generations. And I think when you look at all these murals together and take them all in an appreciation and realize that it's our belief that Louis Jambour and the Latchis family created them with a very strong, cohesive message in mind, I hope this enhances your appreciation of the story that's being told in our theater. And that story is the story of the importance of theaters in our community and of what they can do for us and what we must do for them so that they can continue to do their great magical alchemy for us in our lives going forward. With that, I'd like to thank you all very much for tuning in. I'd like to thank Arts United Windham for having us and for having us be a part of this. I'd like to thank Keith Marks of Next Stage for being the Pied Piper of this wonderful program. And I'd like to invite you all to come back to the Latchis as soon as you're comfortable doing so. If you'd like a personal, private tour and a personal chance to look at these murals, please email me at john@latchisarts.org, and I'd be happy to set up one with you. We are also open for movies on the weekends now, and we'd love to welcome you back as soon as you're comfortable coming back. We'd love to have you. We have many hygiene and social distance measures in place to take care of you. Above all, thank you so much for being part of this amazing evening.
There.
Cool.
Yeah. Hi, welcome back. My name is Keith Marks. I'm the Executive Director at Next Stage Arts in Putney. You're at Arts Unite Windham, and we're 7 arts organizations coming together with the support of BCTV and Arts Council of Windham County, and we are raising money this evening for the Windham County NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center. In the chat window, you'll be able to click the box, and it'll take you to where you got to go to make a donation. We appreciate your support. With me right now in this MC spot, we have the president of the NAACP for Windham County, Stefan Gillum. Stefan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, will you kind of help everybody understand the work of the NAACP?
Yes, certainly. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for doing this and thinking about us, because that's important. And so it's great, since you're newer to the community, that you're starting off like this. And yeah, so thanks for that. So first and foremost, the NAACP has quite a few things that we do called game changers, and they play out sort of differently in every city. Every branch kind of has its own personality, and so with ours, we are very POC/queer/progressive leaning sort of branch, and we work within a system called NAACP, which is actually meaning that we communicate with all of the branches in New England. So we're pretty powerful in that way, and that we're an actual network. Some of the things that we've been doing locally, obviously lately, have been COVID related. So one thing that we've been doing is we've been working with a group of doctors in collaboration with the Community Equity Collaborative, or the CEC for short, bringing together a group of doctors, getting them together and saying, okay, what exactly are we needing to do right now? What things are we pushing up? What things are we forgetting about? What forms do we need to be filling out? Things like that. So that's something that big that we've been doing as far as health goes, and that's one of our game changers. Another one is education, and actually it's kind of cool because right here in Putney, we've been working quite a bit with Landmark College, and Mark Thurman, who is the Equity and Diversity Coordinator for that college. We've been doing quite a bit of programming, we were doing quite a bit of programming for them, and we just elected Mark as our new education chair. So really wrapping into there and things like that when it comes to education. Also, we go into Brattleboro High School quite a bit, and so our old education chair used to do stuff there for Diversity Day and stuff like that. So we've been doing a lot of initiatives around education and just training in general. And I know I don't have much time, but I also like to talk a little bit about just the stuff that's been going on around the acts of hate. We've been doing a lot around that as well. And actually right here in Putney, since we're in Putney, I'll mention it, we're trying to get a mural commissioned. So any support around that would be very helpful. We also had 4 other acts of hate. So if you have any ideas about what you want to do in your community, if you're a part of the Brattleboro community or any of the other 3 that dealt with that, let us know. But we're doing quite a bit. I mean, those are just a couple things,
Stefan,
but we're all over the place.
Just to kind of give a little bit more spotlight to those things. Yeah. Can you articulate what recently has gone on? Because maybe there are people who are not from this area or even from this area who may not know. Will you just kind of speak to what recently has been happening in our community?
Yeah, so actually it kind of started a little bit further back than what's been publicized, but a while ago there were these random just acts of what I'm going to call hate popping up around town, like little graffiti here, little graffiti there, saying, derogatory things that I can't necessarily remember. But as of late, about a week and a half ago, give or take a couple days, right? There were 5 distinct acts of hate that went around, and one actually was here in Putney. And they pretty much were just saying things like, BLM is racist and just talking a lot about hate and spreading messages of hate. And they were doing it right in the middle of the road as well. So right on our highways. So whoever you were, no matter what your social location was, you would get up and you would see it.
Yeah. And so the work of the NAACP locally, is it I mean, how do you interact with the community? Like, what are some of the actions that you've been taking in order to represent social equity in our community?
Well, first and foremost, we have our community meeting every month. Right now, it's on every 3rd Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock. It actually was at the Root for Social Justice Center, like physically, but now it's just on Zoom. So if you're on our mailing list, we'll just Zoom you out a link. It's actually been working pretty well, by the way. Other things that we do is we attend a lot of meetings. So we have an executive committee, and that's made up of our officers. So myself as president, vice presidents, Rose Albert and Nader Hashim, who I think actually is a local rep. Yeah, I know, is a local rep for this area. And education chairs, you name it, a lot of different chairs, secretary, treasurer. And we all kind of band out and go to different meetings, get ourselves ingrained in different groups, and see how can we actually support local efforts. And so one example of that would be most recently with the Negro Brook situation. I don't know if anyone's heard about it, but pretty much in Townsend, there was a brook called Negro Brook. And 2 citizens there actually started a petition to change that to a different name. And they've gotten some pushback around that, which is sort of surprising, right? Because it's 2020 and no one uses that word, especially not black people. But they've been getting quite a bit of pushback. And so we kind of attach ourselves to those issues, use the NAACP's good name to push and promote, and use our membership. I mean, we are the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in the United States. We are over 109 years old, and we were created in allyship between white allies and black people. So it's a powerful organization, and it's been doing this work for a long time, and we've got a pretty big network. So that's how we get ourselves ingrained. I mean, really, we are a watchdog organization who is there to help build capacity in the best way that we can. The last thing that we want to do is step on toes. We use our capabilities to lift up other organizations, whether they're local and or state organizations that have missions or projects that align with our actual agenda.
Amazing. Stefan, thank you. Thank you. We're going to hear from Stefan again. He's going to come back after this next segment. It's important. They're doing important work. So between the Windham County, NAACP, and the Root Social Justice Center, we're raising money for. Click the link in the chat box. We appreciate your support. And right now we're going to have NEYT, New England Youth Theater, is going to come up and do a bit of clowning for us. And so we're excited to see New England Youth Theater. So without further ado, New England Youth Theater, thank you.
Hello and welcome to the New England Youth Theater. I am Cassidy.
I'm Lucas.
And we are happy to be a part of the Arts Unite Windham.
Please make sure to donate. And on with the skit.
Yeah. What are you waiting for? You have to fully eat a banana, Lucas.
But you're... We did not play. Oh wait, you dropped your banana.
Oh, gotcha. Hi, it's Keith Marks, Executive Director at Next Stage Arts. We are here at Arts Unite Windham. We are 7 arts organizations coming together with the support of BCTV and the Arts Council of Windham County. We are raising money for the Windham County NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center. There's a link to click We would love it for you to support this evening's effort as we present this experiment in online variety show fundraising. We appreciate it. So with me right now is Stefan Gillum. He is the president of the local chapter of the NAACP. So Stefan, thank you for still being here with us.
Yep, happy to be here still.
Yeah. Stefan, we talk to me about what's going on in the state when we talk about BIPOC and the movement that's going on in terms of just like, there's a national movement, national conversation, and so what's going on in Vermont?
Yeah, so the NAACP focuses a lot on structurally, so we take a big structural lens in the way that we approach the work, as we call it, which is different than other organizations, but like it kind of goes into that capacity building thing that I was talking about earlier. So for example, that group of doctors that I spoke about before that we have local here in Windham County, we actually use that information and siphon it up and act as liaison, bringing that information to the actual equity caucus here, the equity task force appointed by the governor here for the state. And so there is like a real connection between the ground here in Windham and what we're going through and what we're seeing from the medical side of things and actually what we're trying to report back to our governor for recommendations for policy, hopefully. I think our first deadline is August 15th, but don't quote me. That's just one. We also do a lot of pushing for legislation change on the state level, things around use of force, reparations, you name it. There is a plethora of bills out of the House of Representatives mainly that we have been pushing and hoping to get change around. So we're really moving. And the other president of the NAACP, Tabitha Moore up in Rutland, and I work hand in hand together on state issues. And so if something goes with the state, she and I will meet about it. We usually talk about it together. And we've gotten a lot of work done for the state. And we're really proud of our footprint here.
And so what does it look like as, Vermont being, I think, 96% white. So what does it look like for white allies to help support the work of, we're talking with you specifically about the NAACP, but also other organizations like the Root, Lost River is here in town, but like what are things that the community can do to help uplift and support the work that the NAACP is doing?
Well, I think the first thing is just to realize that Black and brown people have always taken care of themselves in that way structurally, right? So there is always a policy or something that is built not in our favor, and we've had to come back and correct that or advocate for that on the back end of things. And so that healing that comes from that trauma caused by having to correct those things are things that we do ourselves, right? So that the structural change, the healing change, all of that sort of change are things that we're doing ourselves. And so I think it's good for white allies to realize that first and foremost. And then when we make requests, which is things that we do, right? We don't like to do a lot of asks. We're like, this is what we need. This is our request. To help us meet that goal, right? So I guess it's the same thing I would say in therapy, right? Make requests, not complaints. So,
and in terms of experiences of people of color in this area, in this community, can you kind of just like give us some insight into that perspective of living as a person of color in a community that is overwhelmingly white?
I think living as a person of color in the United States right now is an interesting experience. I would never want to say that it's a horrible experience just because I think that would deny the resilience of our people and the fact that we've been able to come through a lot. But it's challenging because you're facing a lot of structural bias, a lot of social bias at all times. And it's not only pervasive within the systems here, but it's also deeply ingrained into a lot of the community just via homogeny, right? So people just don't know what they don't know sometimes, and sometimes they might know it and they still might act out of their bias because it's easier or more comfortable. So I think that I've seen people of color be misrepresented a lot, and a lot of times the things that they're asking for, the points that they're trying to make, are misrepresented or misconstrued to be something that they're not, and usually that's towards the negative side of things. But I also would say that, and this is something that I always put into things, that the resiliency of people of color is not to be discounted. But yeah, I would say misconstrued is the general theme that I feel here, because no matter if you're saying it in the nicest way possible, if you're saying something in a way that is a little bit more what I would call like forward-facing, it's hard to get your point across without being stereotyped or boxed into some sort of a dominant discourse that you never even decided you wanted to be part of or that you fit into. So yeah. I would say that is what it's like to be in a community where you are extremely outnumbered, but you still also are part of the community. And there are a lot of people of color in Vermont, right? I mean, 6%, I think we're actually around 9% now or something like that. It's going up there, especially when you talk about the transient community. That's still a lot of people. It's many, many thousands of people when we're talking about over 500,000 folks in the state, so. Yeah.
And one of the things that, we're raising money this evening for the NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center. And so one of the things that we speak about in a lot of this equity work is how do we make things socially equitable, but also financially equitable, right? Mm-hmm. And so, we're raising money for an organization that's doing the hard work, but can you speak to that financial equity and like the importance of sort of tipping the scales back into balance?
In what regard? Do you mean just?
Well, as an organization, I think that's it's unfair for me to ask you to speak for all people of color in Vermont, but I think that as the president of NAACP, like from an organizational perspective, like how does the money and the finances go around the NAACP and how people can donate to you and where funding comes from and avenues of.
Yeah, so of course we have our website, which is under construction, but it's usable. And you can become a member for a year, which is $30. And if you need help with that, then we usually try to help folks out, like financially. You can become a lifetime member as well, which is $75 a year, but and for 10 years in a row, and then you're done for life. And then we send you like a plaque and all kinds of cool stuff, which is kind of cool, right? You get it in the mail. Some people just pay that flat out, and they're like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. I would say that we do get a decent amount of donations. I wouldn't say a lot of donations because we're a young branch, but we've been doing pretty well successfully. And we also just use our general memberships and fundraising stuff like our Freedom Fund dinner, which maybe we'll talk about later, but it's pretty much just our biggest fundraising event of the year. Last year it was wildly successful, and we had, I think, over 225 people show up. I know that for a fact, actually. We had 300, but the building capped out. Oh, okay. So we did what we had to do.
You can speak about the Freedom Fund dinner, because I think it's an important thing for the community to know about.
Yeah, so the Freedom Fund dinner is pretty cool. So what it really acts as is a place for people from all different social locations, and by social location, I just mean where you're at in your life, age, gender, race, all those things, socioeconomic class, people from different career, really. People from different socioeconomic, social locations come together, and we break bread together once a year, right? And it's pretty cool because people get to meet each other that usually would not have met each other, or sit in the room and have conversations that they usually would not have had. We also have usually pretty good speakers come down, music, a pretty good program happening, and most of the proceeds go to the branch. But it's also really this like beautiful moment where people get to be awarded. So last year, I think we gave out 4 Lifetime Achievement Awards, which was huge because most branches only give out 1. But we wanted to make up for lost time. So it was kind of cool because we kind of based it on this pillar model where we were like, well, we're gonna give people who've been pillars in the community this award that they would have gotten if a branch would have been here longer, because Vermont's I think maybe the only state, if not one of 2 states, that did not have a NAACP branch, like a single branch. Most states have several. So.
And membership in NAACP, it's obviously not just for people of color, right?
No. Yeah, so we are truly, we started off being created by allies and Black and brown people coming together and saying, this is what we need. It was 1909. So it's very different, but you had folks like Ida B. Wells, who was one of the original creators. And so, no, we've always been a multiracial organization. We've always done a lot of multiracial work, walking hand in hand with our white allies, doing what we could, and everybody utilizing their strengths to push us forward collectively. And that really has been a strength for the NAACP. And it served us well all these years. I mean, there's the NAACP Image Awards, for God's sake, and so many other things that are huge. I mean, Beyonce was just talking about the NAACP and just gave us a shout out. So, and won DACA in the Supreme Court. So I think that our model has worked for a long time, and we're hoping that it keeps working as long as we need it to, right?
Yeah.
Which, longer conversation.
Well, in earnest, I say I hope NAACP does the work it needs to do so that it doesn't need to exist anymore, right?
We're on the same
goal.
page there.
Yeah. So, Stefan, thank you very much for making the time and coming out
thank you.
and speaking with our audience. And so we are raising money for the Windham County NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center. You can click the link. It is in the chat box. It's below. We really appreciate the support. It's very important work that Stefan's organization, the NAACP, and the Root Social Justice Center is doing. So we're really excited about Arts Unite Windham coming together, these arts organizations coming together to produce something that speaks to the moment and speaks to social equity. Coming up, we're going to have the New England Center for Circus Arts. They're going to be the next presenter. This is a really exciting opportunity for us to showcase something that is not normally kind of put into the bucket of arts and culture and circus arts. And so we feel really powerful that having this in our community, having a Center for Circus Arts is vitality, is vibrancy. It's an opportunity for people to experience art through their body and movement. And so coming up, we are going to be going to New England Center for Circus Arts with Erica Radcliffe, who I do need to give a shout out. She is the graphic designer who made all of the marketing collateral, and I just want to say thank you to Erica. They look beautiful, and they really helped launch tonight's show. Casey Haynes, Shea Potter, and to introduce us, we have the NECA's, the New England Center for Circus Arts, NECA, their executive director, Jamie Hodgson. So without further ado, are we ready? Let's get to NECA.
Thank you, and welcome to the New England Center for Circus Arts. We are so excited to be here today to perform for you virtually. My name is Jamie Hodgson, and I'm the Executive Director here at NECA. Joining me today are Erica Radcliffe on rope, Casey Haynes on sear wheel, and Shea Potter on Chinese pole. We are so excited to be part of this project to raise money for two fantastic organizations. If you haven't had a chance to donate yet, there is still time, and please consider donating to the Windham County NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center here in Brattleboro. Without further ado, our first performer is Erica Radcliffe on rope.
Unite Windham. We appreciate your support for raising money this evening for the Windham County NAACP and the Root Social Justice Center. So there's a link in the chat box, there's a link below. Please help us support these organizations that are doing social equity.
Oh, did you turn your mic back on?
And so, I'm not, my mic is off. There we go. Okay, so with me now is Sarah Coffey. Sarah is a state legislator and a former arts administrator. So Sarah, thank you very much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. This is a great event, Keith.
Thank
that you're
you.
Doing.
I got so excited I didn't turn my mic on. That's live.
That's
live
okay.
television.
That happens to producers too.
So Sarah, will you tell me a little bit about, briefly your pathway from an arts administrator to a state legislator, and talk to me about what the state is doing in relationship to arts?
Sure, and I think I can talk a little bit about what the state's doing also in relationship with racial justice reforms, if that's something you want to talk about, given that we're supporting tonight this awesome organization. I just want to give a big shout out. I was so happy to walk in here tonight and hear Stephen Gillum talking with you. His energy in Windham County is incredible, and I remember when he started, he was a graduate student at SIT, and he started our county organization. And so I'm a member, and so I hope other folks will support the work here. So I'm what's called a freshman legislator. This is the end of my first term. And as I think folks probably know, is that due to COVID, we're having an unusual session. So we typically would end in the middle of May. This year we went through the end of June, and we're going back for 3 or 4 more weeks on August 25th. And one of the big topics that we're going to be addressing is police reform. We did around use of force, use of body cameras, and a number of other issues. And I'm proud to say that I'm a member of the Social Equity Caucus, which is a group of legislators and advocates that come together every week. And we've been coming together even while we're on this summer recess. And it's an incredible learning community, so we get to have folks like Susanna Davis, who's the Executive Director of Racial Equity in the state, along with folks throughout the state come and talk with us. Because I think right now we have an incredible opportunity with what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement and the white allyship that's going on to move some things forward that communities and organizations and community leaders of color have been talking to the legislature about for a long time. And I want to say, too, that the committee that I serve on is House Corrections and Institutions. And so this work around criminal justice reform has everything to do with my committee, and we've been doing it. And the reason I wanted to do that, I think, is that when I was working as a producer and executive director of Vermont Performance Lab, we got to work with some incredible artists, and we worked to support the research and development of work and presentation of work. So I got to work with a lot of fabulous artists, and in my career, I've produced and managed black dance companies in New York City and worked with an organization that all the work was around the work of artists of the African diaspora. So a few years ago, I worked with a group out of Providence, Rhode Island, and they were working on a piece called the Freedom Project, which was looking at mass incarceration. They were based in Providence. And so in a nutshell, because of their community members, because of the community that they were working with, I became more intimate with this idea of mass incarceration as the biggest civil rights issue of our day. And so when I was running for office and thinking about where I would want to be involved, I asked to be on the House Corrections and Institutions Committee because of this work. So, it's interesting, the work being an arts producer requires a lot of listening and also connecting, and I feel like that's a lot of what we do as legislators is listening to our communities and carrying those voices to the State House. So it's a real privilege to be in the People's House, even these days when we're doing it virtually. It's really an honor, and we're so lucky to have organizations like the Windham County NAACP and the Root Center for Social Justice working locally in our community. And actually, we have a pretty strong delegation in Windham County that is working, members are working on many different committees and kind of carrying, racial justice is a really, I can speak for many of us, is a huge priority for us.
So how does the work that you're doing in the state, like how does Windham County, because this is like an Arts Unite Windham idea, so we're talking about Windham County, so like how does Windham County do in terms of responsiveness to social equity, social justice in relation to where the state is?
Well, I think, when it comes to a lot of I think Windham County does pretty well, but I think we can do better. Mm-hmm. In our state, the communities of color, the largest concentration of the communities of color are in Chittenden County, Winooski and Greater Burlington. And so I feel like many groups have been working with the mayor of Burlington, which is our biggest city in the state. And there's been some really fantastic work going on there. I would have to say we have some pretty forward-thinking organizations here that, in terms of restorative justice with our Community Justice Center, how they work with our criminal justice system, the folks that we have in our high school, the restorative justice coordinator, what's going on in our school board, our district school board, and they recently adopted a resolution around racial equity. So I think in terms of statewide, Windham County is moving well, but we need to do more. I mean, it's really, there are conversations up at the Brattleboro Select Board around policing, and I know that's true in Putney too. So I think we have a lot of communities, a lot of activism in Windham County, and my observation over the last couple of years is that it's been really exciting to see different organizations working together around various issues and coming together.
Will you speak to also your work as a state legislator in terms of how we are faring as the arts economy? So Robert McBride was here earlier, and he was talking about the arts sector as a financial sector accounts for 9%, nearly 10% of our state revenue. And so I know that we just had some legislation come through, and will you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. So, having been, having been working in the arts for 25 years, I know that, the creative economy is a huge economic driver in our state, and I feel like part of my job in the State House is helping others see that our sector is almost as significant as the agricultural sector in our state. And so recently, when the bulk of our work at the end of the session was around COVID-19 related legislation and around how we were going to divvy up some of the federal relief dollars. So a colleague and I were really closely watching this. He used to run the Flynn Center up in Burlington, and he came in as a legislator at the same time that I did. So we are really enjoying working together, and we were noticing that the arts sector, the creative sector, was really being left out in all of this. So we were able to work together. There are folks in the legislature who heard from their arts organizations and artists, and which was really powerful for when we hear from our constituents about the value of the arts, whether our kid is taking piano lessons or whether someone's a working artist or a business. We were able to, because of that, people heard from their constituents, and we were able to advocate and secure $5 million for the arts and cultural sector. We worked closely with the Vermont Arts Council, because they were going to be involved in rolling these dollars out. But it's we know that next stage, right, is going to be, we know that events that fill our theaters are going to be some of the last to come back. I heard that many organizations are not even scheduling live events inside their theaters until July of next year. Yeah. So we know also that these organizations are cornerstones of our downtowns and of our communities, and we need to find a way so that they can survive. And in addition, this 9% of our GDP, The other part is that we know that the arts organizations are a really strong pulse in our communities. Like they attract people to come to see a show, but then they go and have dinner beforehand and go off and do shopping before the show and bring their friends to come. So it's not just about what happens in the theaters, it's about the economic activity that happens around them. So, I think we're cultivating a great group of people who are really interested in the arts, because it's Vermont, as great as we are, we're a little bit behind other states, other rural states who look at developing cultural policy to strengthen their rural economies. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Thank you. Sarah, you're going to be here after we're going to go to the Brattleboro Music Center. We really appreciate the work the state is doing to recognize arts. It's a really big deal. So we'll talk more in a few minutes. Right now we are, I hope, actually before we get to BMC, we're going to go and I'm going to plug the link. Click the link, donate, the Root Social Justice Center and the NAACP. Support. Right now we're going to go to the Brattleboro Music Center. There is going to be a piece by Jesse Montgomery, a piece entitled Strum, and it's featuring the BMC Quartet, the Brattleboro Music Center. So without further ado, Brattleboro Music Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith, and good evening from the Brattleboro Music Center. You can't tell, but we're all totally smiling at you from behind our masks. Before we begin tonight, we just wanted to talk a little bit about the piece we're playing and to talk about social justice as it pertains to both the world of classical music and us here at the BMC. We all have so much work to do to actively unlearn the systems of oppression within ourselves and within the institutions we participate in. For centuries, in the world of classical music, racism and sexism have excluded composers from our musical canon and our concert halls. And we feel that part of our work as individuals and part of our responsibility as classical musicians is to actively seek and intentionally perform music by composers who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as composers who identify as anything other than cis male. This work can never end, and we are committing to it for the long haul. We're still going to play our Bach, which you will hear later tonight, and our Haydn and our Mozart, but we're also going to be playing our Samuel Coleridge Taylor, our Florence Price, our George Walker. I mean, the list goes on, from composers who have been intentionally excluded from our history to living, breathing composers emerging today. One such composer is Jesse Montgomery, whose piece Strum you'll hear tonight. Born and raised on the Lower East Side of New York City in the 1980s, go 80s kids, she grew up attending rallies and parties and performances that her parents took her to. And she learned early on how to blend her artistic side with advocacy and activism. As a violinist, she performs regularly with the Catalyst Quartet and the Public Quartet, spanning from styles from traditional classical music to improvisation and the avant-garde. As a composer, she's the recipient of the Leonard Bernstein Award and is considered to be one of the important emerging composers today. And as an educator and activist, she's the composer in residence for the Sphinx Organization, which is a nonprofit dedicated to the development of young Black and Latinx classical musicians. Tonight you're going to hear her piece Strum, which, in Miss Montgomery's own words, draws on American folk idioms with elements of dance and movements and improvisation, beginning with fleeting nostalgia and ending with ecstatic celebration. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please donate, and we hope you enjoy this piece as much as we've enjoyed learning it.
I want to thank Brattleboro Music Center for contributing to this evening's performance. It's Arts Unite Windham. We are a bunch of arts organizations here in Windham County getting together. We're raising money for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. If you just joined us or recently joined us, there's a link in the comments section in the chat, and there's a link below. If you would please think about supporting this important work, social equity in this community, and so if you can support, that'd be great. So we're talking with Sarah Coffey, state legislator, who is has an incredible history of relationship to the arts administration, and then through this. So I know that tonight we're sort of fusing the arts and social equity and social justice, and so I do want to come back to the work that the state legislature is doing around social justice and social equity. So are there more things that people should be aware of?
Sure. I just wanted to put in a plug for a couple of ways, because as I mentioned, we're going back August 25th, and two of the House committees are going to be taking up some pretty, looking very seriously at a number of police reforms in Vermont. And I wanted to let folks know that there are 3 public hearings that are happening I wrote them down, August 6th, 11th, and I have to write,
It's okay, we all have our notes.
Yeah, it's like, it's August 6th, August 12th, and August 16th. And I'm happy to send because it's a link that if people want to give testimony, that's one thing that they can do. If they want to tune in and watch the hearings, that's another thing that they can do. But there's also an online survey, and it's really important for us to hear from folks all over the state on this things about where Vermonters want to see us focusing on how to do police reform, from body cameras to developing a consistent use of force, to a number of things. So I wanted to let folks know the best way to do is we have a really pretty transparent website in the legislature. And so if folks go to the House Judiciary webpage, all the information about when the hearings are happening, where the links are to get on by Zoom. I hope folks will participate. And I've also sent them out to a number of community organizations and on We Can Vermont and to the NAACP and the Root. So we really hope that people will engage, because we are in Vermont, we have a citizen legislature, which I'm very proud of, and understanding what that means is it's really citizens who are serving in the legislature and carrying the voices from their community. So it's important that we hear from folks. So I just wanted to put in a plug for that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. So in addition to your state legislature role, I'm fascinated by the arts administration history and working in New York with artists. So what's the intersection between artists in this area? I'm new, so I'm trying to understand the landscape. So have a conversation around arts and arts organizations and the role that these organizations that we're featuring tonight. I mean, these are showcasing artists, and so can you speak to some of that?
Sure. Well, I think in Windham County we have an abundance of riches in arts and culture, both in terms of organizations and artists and creatives. So, I love the different ways that the different institutions in our community operate. And I think right now is an incredibly important time, and there is a really incredible role for artists, because I think we're going to look back, if we do things right, I think we're going to look back at this time period and see a huge transformation. And I think that artists, my lived experience is that artists have been out ahead of most of mainstream society thinking about so many of these issues. And so I think that our institutions and our individual artists need to be supported to do this work, to help our communities come together. We often think that of Vermont as being a very progressive state through and through, but in my experience in the State House, but also in the district that I represent, there are differences, and the one ways that people can come together, and through my experience with Vermont Performance Lab, it was a really powerful way to bring people together through, creative research, art making, listening to each other. And I think artists and arts organizations will be playing. We're going to need arts organizations to continue to do that work. We have a fantastic museum in town that has been doing all sorts of work, from beautiful exhibits on featuring the homeless individuals who are homeless in our community. And I think about a recent exhibit, well, it was a few years ago, featuring folks, loggers, Vermont loggers, people who work in the forest economy, and painting and their stories. So anyway, I'm just saying all of this is that I feel like arts are a great uniter, and I don't say that with a sugar-coated way. I think it's really powerful. Like we have seen how the arts can transform and move us forward. And this was a number of years ago. I think it was about 9 years ago. I was at a conference, and it was for Dance USA. And the keynote speaker was talking about what had happened in the state of California, where we call the minority majority, where California had flipped. And they said, you know, this is going to be happening throughout our country, and the role that the arts play for this, because this is a huge change for many of our communities, and especially in a state like Vermont that is, I heard you talking with Stefan earlier, you know, we are a very white state, 96%. And I think if we're thinking about the future of our state, we want to be a state that is welcoming to people of color, because we also know that most young people, I'll say this as a mother of a 17 and 19-year-old, like, they don't want to live in a lily white place. They want to be living in places where LGBTQIA folks are welcome and where there are many. So I think Vermont, while we have really great politics most of the time, I think there's some work for us to do, like around our systems. And so I'm excited about some of the work that artists can do, and also the work that needs to be done and is started with the passage of a bill we passed last year, the Ethnic Studies Bill, like bringing that work into our schools more directly. And when I say that work, I mean about the history of folks of color, you know, more directly. And I do believe that there is, if anyone can do it, Vermont can do it.
There's one of our co-founders and community leaders in this area is John Burt. And John, since I'm moving here, he and I have had a lot of conversations around the role and function of art in the community, especially in rural America and the rural sector of the arts sector. And he talks about how, you know, we had, you know, for a long time there were institutions of religion that brought people together, and then there were institutions of commerce that brought people together. And these arts centers are, you know, like even a testament to like what's going on tonight, all these arts organizations coming together to speak to the moment of social equity, and I think that is really valuable. So thank you for leading us down that path. So let's get back into the art making and the art presenting for Arts Unite Windham. Before we get to the next presenter, I will say the link is active. Please think about donating. All the net proceeds will benefit the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. So now we're going to go over to Sandglass, our geographic neighbor, puppetry theater company. They're performing a piece called Zadel. It's an excerpt from Eric Bass's original Autumn Portraits performances, and it's going to be performed by Shoshana Bass as part of her show, When I Put On Your Glove. So without further ado, we appreciate you, Sandglass. Thank you.
Reb Zadel. Reb Zadel. Reb Zadel. Hello? Reb Zadel, it's time. Time? What time? Time for you, Reb Zadel. It's your time, my time. What do you mean, my time? I never have time. Wake up now, Reb Zadel, and come with me. Who is this speaking, please? You know me, Reb Zadel. I am the angel. The angel? The angel of death. Ugh. Oh, you want Reb Zadel. Wait a minute. I'll see if he's in. Hello, Yuhu Zadel. Listen, could you come back tomorrow between 8 and 6? The shop will be open and you can speak with him. I haven't come for the shop now. Come, Reb Zadel, it's getting late. Late? What time is it then? 1 o'clock in the morning. And I haven't finished this pair of shoes for little Rachel. She'll be in the morning before we're open, even on her way to shul, and such a mess are her old pair. It'll probably rain too, She'll have in her shoes such a river. She'll get sick, You're not going to take her, are you? Hello? Are you still there? Reb Zadel. Oh, you're still there. For a moment I thought you'd gone without me. Not that I would mind. I have it. You could go on ahead, and I could catch up with you. I'll take the ox cart, On the other hand, maybe you would like the ox cart. It's no heavenly chariot, I admit, but when it rains, your feet stay dry. Feet? Maybe you need a new pair of shoes, How about a nice pair of boots? What size are you? What am I saying? Angels in boots. But listen, I know you're a busy person, but couldn't I finish this one pair? I have it, I'll tell you a story, Do you know why I make shoes? You think it's because my father made shoes, No. So listen. Relax. I'll tell you why I make shoes. Long ago, when I was just a boy, no bigger than little Rachel, I sat in the shul and the Rebbe tried to teach me A, B, C, In such things I was not so good. God gave me good hands, but not such a good head for learning. Maybe he already told you that, So, it was the shoes. The shoes did it. I heard them singing. I listened. And every pair of shoes sang to me. Life and Brüppchen brennt a Feuer in dem Stiefels Hey. Andere belehren kleine Kinder, die mal bei. Andere belehren kleine Kinder, die mal bei. Sicher Kinderlach. Gedenkchitayarel. Vacileren do. Und Tage noch einmal komm Zeit. Oh, it was the alphabet song that my mother used to sing to me, but I heard it from the shoes. And do you know what I think? I think when something, some unexpected thing speaks to you, you must listen to it, whether it's shoes or milk bottles or books or music or numbers or angels. I see. I'll just go get my prayer shawl. Little shoe. You must tell little Rachel for me. I'm sorry. I did not finish. Rachel, forgive me. I'm ready now.
Hey, I'm Keith Marks, Executive Director at Next Stage Arts in Putney. Thank you for joining Arts Unite Windham. We really appreciate it. There's a link in the chat box. Please click it. We are raising money for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. Right now, I have Danny Lichtenfeld. Did I say that correctly? Yes. He is the director at the Brattleboro Museum of Art and Arts Center. Danny, thank you for joining us. We really wanted to invite not just performing arts organizations to be involved, but the museum to be represented, so thank you.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, Keith. Thank you. I kept my BMAC mask on for just a second to do a little plug. And I really appreciate you involving the museum, and I just want to say, like the scale of what you guys here at Next Stage and all the other performing arts organizations in Windham County have been dealing with is really different than what we've dealt with. We've felt like, I used to work in performing arts and before I went to the museum, and I just feel like, oh my God, I'm so happy I don't work in performing arts right now because it's so wachallenging in a different way than it has been for the museum.
The museum is open, right?
The museum's open, yep. We were closed for 3 months. In fact, we had a set of exhibits that we'd been working on for like a couple years that opened on March 15th and then closed the next day.
We were we were supposed to host the talk.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were going to do a talk that night, exactly. And so then we were closed for 3 months, but then we opened on June 18th, and yeah, we're open. And of course, it's a very different situation for us being an art museum. Those are like, in normal times, an art museum is a place you go to social distance. So So it hasn't been as difficult for us. I mean, there are ways, obviously, that it has been really challenging, but not like it has been for performing arts organizations. And so I just really applaud you and all the other performing arts organizations, BMC and NEYT and NECA, and for the creativity that you're demonstrating and just the stick-to-itiveness, and it's just really inspiring.
Thank you, Danny. Will you speak a little bit to what the museum is up to? I really kind of want to give a spotlight to what you guys are doing. Sure,
I will. But before I do that, I just wanted to say a word about the MC that I had to follow here, Sarah Coffey, who's a dear friend. And also, I just want to say, like a total inspiration for me personally and for our arts community. And I hope that in our area, people involved in the arts know how lucky we are to have Sarah in our midst, and now in the legislature advocating on our behalf. Sarah was really a brilliant arts administrator and now doing an amazing job in the legislature, and we're so fortunate to have Sarah representing us.
Yeah, and the band that's coming up at next stage, Moxie, says she's got family.
Yeah, exactly. We just got to hear Moxie sound check. I have a special soft spot in my heart for that band. I think it's maybe one of their very first gigs locally was at the museum. And an earlier band that Ray was in also debuted at the museum. And I'll have this picture in my mind forever of a tiny little Ray who participated in a great program that we do at the museum every few years called Glasstastic, who twice was one of the winners in that program where she drew an imaginary creature and it got turned into a glass sculpture. And so really have a soft spot for all those kids.
That's great. Will you just briefly kind of like comment before we go into the next organization that's presenting, just how the pandemic and COVID have the new dynamic at the museum?
Yeah. You know, we're a non-collecting art museum, so we rotate our exhibits. And so there are really three big things that our museum does to be of service to the community. We present exhibitions, and those exhibitions are usually up for a few months, and then they come down. And as I was saying, the ones that were supposed to open March 15th got to be up for one day before we had to close, and thankfully we were able to extend them, so they're up now and people can go see them. But the other two big things that we do to be of service to our community are events, all kinds of cultural events, and we more or less had to shut those down. We had an incredible, rich array of programming lined up this spring in connection with an exhibit that Sarah alluded to having to do with homelessness. We actually have two exhibits up right now that deal with homelessness. And so we, along with Groundworks Collaborative, a terrific organization in our community, we had planned a number of events and gatherings and panel discussions and people from different parts of the community getting together and talking about what does homelessness look like in Brattleboro and beyond. And all of that had to go on ice. Some of that we've managed to convert into online programming, and that's actually been really gratifying and kind of exciting to realize the kind of reach that we can have with online programming. But the third big thing we do, and this one's still a giant question mark for us, is all the work with schools, having field trips come to the museum. I mean, in a typical year, we'll have 100 K-6 field trips come to the museum. And that's not happening. I mean, that didn't happen this spring, and we don't expect that to be happening anytime very soon. And we send our staff into classrooms as well. And so, and it's not even a great time yet to try to sit down with teachers and administrators and talk about like, hey, let's get creative and figure out what we can do now, because they're in such a tough spot. So that's a big question mark for us going forward, is what our education programs are going to look like.
Well, thank you. I know that all of our arts organizations are trying to navigate this. We're building the ship as we're sailing it, kind of thing. And
How many times have I said that over the last 3 months? All of us. And I don't know about you. It's really taxing. I mean, each day I like ping pong back and forth between feeling really fortunate that the museum did not have to cut our staff, and that, we're financially in sound shape, thanks in large part to relief funds that are, have been made available. But then at the end of each day, I'm like so exhausted, and it's because of questions like that.
Let's come back to this. We're going to have Danny here for the next segment too. So we want to create space for the Vermont Jazz Center. Again, I'll just plug that link. Keep donating. Thank you very much for kind of speaking and supporting for this Arts Unite Windham. So now we're going to travel back to the Jazz Center, the Vermont Jazz Center, where pianist Franz Robert will play a 10-minute solo set of piano. Franz is one of the area's finest pianists. He has performed in New York, Boston, Southwest United States, and is the house pianist at the Sonic Circus Studio. We welcome Franz Robert at the Vermont Jazz Center. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
This is Keith Marks, Executive Director at Next Stage Arts. Thank you for tuning to Arts Unite Windham. We are 7 arts organizations coming together with the support of the Arts Council of Windham County and BCTV to produce an online variety show fundraiser for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. Right now, I am joined by Danny Lichtenfeld. He is the director at the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center.
That's it.
I nailed it. Good. You know, one of the things that has come up a lot in every aspect of culture and life, but the ones that we the organizations that we run, is how are we addressing social equity? And so, you know, at Next Stage, we're looking at, you know, like little things like we started a book club, but we're also looking at how do we have more representation on our stage and in our building and in our staff and on our board. So I'm curious to know how the museum is interacting with social equity and social justice.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, at our museum, as it is everywhere else, it's a huge issue right now. It's a huge priority. We had been really patting ourselves on the back and taking a lot of pride in the fact that we have for a long time been infusing our exhibition schedule and exhibition programs with some real social justice themes. And you know, Sarah mentioned like this project we're doing around homelessness right now, and not too long ago we had an exhibition and a series of events around addiction and recovery. And so that's been something that we've been very proud of, using our platform to kind of try to move the needle on really pressing social issues. Racial equity and racial justice is a different thing, and you know, it's its own thing. And we had a real eye-opening experience like a year and a half ago. We send out e-newsletters, like every organization does, and our e-newsletters, like every other one, have some pictures and some little teaser, you know, headlines for people to click on and so on. And so in one of these e-newsletters we sent out to our several thousand subscribers, it was when we had this this exhibition having to do with addiction and recovery, and we were talking about some of the events associated with that. And one of the images that we had chosen to use to kind of illustrate this event that was coming up that had to do with recovery, but insofar as it had to do with recovery, it also had to do with addiction, showed 2 hands clasped together. And they were black hands, although I didn't realize that they were when we had sent it out. And someone who received that immediately got back in touch and said, this is the image of black, like the one image of black skin that we see in connection with what the museum's putting out there is going to be associated with addiction. And you know, I didn't feel like that criticism was 100% on point, because I felt like this was more about recovery, and it was a positive message about people coming together. But I'm not the one to say how you should receive that if you're black, and how you should feel about that. And so we immediately sent out an apology, and we've never received the kind of response to, you know, these like MailChimp kind of emails that we received to that apology. And it was what you would expect. It was a lot of people thanking us for being big enough to apologize and to own up to having this blind spot. But it was also a lot of people saying, you have nothing to apologize for, and, you know, stuff like that. And that began a discussion, or it really amped up a discussion about issues around race at the museum about a year and a half ago. That led to our forming a committee, a DEIA committee, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and establishing some priorities that we're working toward. And where we aim to go with that is to, we really want to make sure that our programming, what we put out there to the world, is appropriately balanced and representative in terms of racial issues and other diversity issues and equity issues, but also who we are, how we make our decisions, and who's involved with the museum, and what our decision-making structures are and our internal power structures. We want to make sure that those are informed by really, eyes wide open considerations of diversity and equity and inclusion and accessibility, and also who we're reaching. Because overwhelmingly, art museums reach white people and older people across the country, not just here. And so that's a journey that we're on right now. And I'm really gratified that, that all of us involved with moving the museum forward and making decisions seem really committed to this, and I'm optimistic that we're going to end up in a better place on these issues. And I just want to say that it's incredibly helpful, and some of the ways we're thinking about how we're going to do this work going forward. It's amazing to have the Root Social Justice Center here in our community, and also a branch of the NAACP in Windham County. When we're like 96% white or something, to have a branch of the NAACP is awesome. And so I just, I think that's indicative of the really great sensibility that exists in this community, and we're looking forward to working with them and others as we try to improve our institution in those ways.
Yeah, as somebody new to the community, new to Next Stage, it gives me direction to follow in terms of like knowing that the museum is moving in this direction.
For sure.
And a lot of the organizations that got together for Arts Unite Windham, I was really impressed with how quickly everybody said anything that comes in we should give over to the cause of social equity and social justice unanimously, and it was just almost like that was exactly what we were going to do. So let's shift gears and get back into some programming. Danny, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. So we're going to go to New England Youth Theater. This is going to be the last performance that they have for us tonight. It's a musical theater piece that they've put together. So again, click the link. Thank you very much for supporting. Thank you, New England Youth Theater. See you soon.
Mama who bore me, Mama who gave me, Mama the angels who made me so sad.
There is a vitality, a life force,
a quickening that is translated through you into action, and because there's only one of you.
In all time, this expression is unique. If you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and be lost.
The world will not have it.
Will you be my light in the storm? Will I see a new world in your eyes? With you, my whole spirit rise.
It is not your business to determine how good it is,
nor how valuable it is,
nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours,
clearly and directly, to keep the channel
open. You do not even have to believe in yourself
or your work. You have to keep
open
and aware directly of the urges that motivate
you. Keep the channel open.
Welcome back to Next Stage. I'm Keith Marks, Executive Director over here. We are raising money tonight, and I just want to kind of cue you into the link in the chat and below. Right now, we're going to have a guest MC that's really critical to Next Stage. She is the board president at Next Stage. She's also a former board member at New England Center for Circus Arts, and she also happens to be the chief medical and chief information officer at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. So Kat McGraw, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Really pleased to be here.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on with arts and social justice and health and corona, and there's a lot of talking points. And one of the things that had come up in our conversation was the relationship between the arts and health, and how that interplay happens.
Absolutely. You know, I think about how a number of years ago, Vivek Murthy, who was the previous Surgeon General, talked about that the road to happiness and health consisted of kindness, gratitude, exercise, meditation, and social connection. Think about that. That's, you know,
that's big.
A piece of our pathway to health. I actually, you know, wrote it down, taped it in my fridge, look at it every morning. And I think it's really important to look at the arts as a piece of that. You know, arts are a place where we can express ourselves. We can express ourselves in ways that are more than just the medium that we're used to working in. We may read all the time, and arts are a place where we can sing. We may write all the time, and arts are a place where we can listen. And it allows us to kind of break our brain open and use different parts of our brain, and I think it provides a more balanced approach to how we look at the world. You know, arts are a place where we get together and we can think about things in ways that we've never thought about them before. That's probably true even thinking back over the performances that have been happening today. Maybe folks have seen performances that are something that they've not really looked at before. Maybe they've not seen Sandglass or haven't been to the New England Youth Theater. And arts provides us an opportunity to look at things through a little bit of a different lens, stand in somebody else's shoes. And I think that that is really an avenue to that social connection that's part of health.
Yeah. Do you feel like that this community, I don't know, in conversations around what has happened here, bringing Sandglass and Vermont Jazz Center, New England Youth Theater, and NECA, and BMC, and the VJC, and Latchis, it seems like there's like a lot of synergy around bringing people together to funnel them into, through arts mechanisms, to have them think about larger things like social equity and social justice. And it seems like for our communities to be functioning and healthy and thriving and strong, it's like arts is that meeting place to bring people together. And so in your work as a board member of Next Stage, yes, and as a board member of NECA, like, what has been your experience in seeing that type of interaction happen?
Well, you know, one of the interesting things is you can bring really diverse programming into a community that hasn't experienced it, that is not of that background, and it can be very, very exciting, invigorating, and really let folks think about things, really, as I said, from a different way. You know, we think about the times where this is before you arrived, but, you know, we'd have Bread and Puppet come here and perform here. And for those of you that, you know, could never make it up to Glover, Vermont to see that, you know, that's a form of art that really brings together the community and has people think about things from a political standpoint, from different angles that they may not have, to step back and kind of see it from a meta-analysis as well. And sometimes, you know, from an art perspective, what it does is it helps us to step back and look over a broader perspective and be able to see that 30,000-foot view that we often do not see, and see all the other groups that are working, you know, in whatever manner they are for the same ends, or maybe see the pieces that we are not seeing ourselves, and be able to incorporate that into our lives.
I wonder, like, how that plays out in a way of kind of what you opened what you're talking about art and health, mental health, but also there's this notion of community health, and especially in times of corona, where we're talking about community health.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep, it is. It's, you know, the community, we judge our community by how well our social activities are happening. You think about, you know, when we're bringing people to the community to consider moving here for their careers at the hospital, you know, one of the things that they want to know is how vibrant is the town, what's going on. I mean, one of the things that I can, you know, really proudly talk to is, you know, we have a community that is disproportionate in its amount of arts. You know, often you associate that with, you know, universities that are present in a town, and that's not the situation here. We have really developed and continue to have a thriving arts community of so many media, and I think that really does lend to that social connection, the willingness to work together and look at things from a little bit different angle.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your perspective. And we're going to have Kat back to kind of talk to us about her not just her role as a board member of arts organizations, but her role as a chief medical officer for the hospital and how it has impacted our community. Again, I want to just say that we are raising money this evening for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. There's a link in the chat. There's a link below. We had Stefan Gillum, president of the NAACP, here earlier speaking about the work of the NAACP. We're going to close the show with a prepared piece from Sheila Linton, who is one of the co-founders at the Root. And so we're really excited to keep going. We'd love to have your support through this evening. Arts Unite Windham is a celebration of the breadth and the depth of arts and culture in this community. There's a lot of organizations that couldn't be involved in tonight, just in terms of just trying to put 4 hours of content together. But we want to recognize all of the organizations, both the nonprofit, the for-profit, the performing arts, the visual arts. There's a lot of things that Windham County can be proud of. And so one of the things that we're going to be proud of is the next artist we have here at Next Stage is a local band called Moxie. And since arriving here, you guys can come on out and start getting set up. Since arriving, I've been told numerous times about a young group making waves in this area, and I've gotten to know Ray a little bit and know that they are becoming a regional force in the music scene. And so we're excited to showcase Moxie. And so, you guys ready to go? Yeah. So again, just real quick, I just want to say, click the link. It's in the chat box. We appreciate your support as we kind of come together and celebrate Arts Unite Windham. So thank you very much. And Moxie.
Hey, you guys watching from remotely, we're Moxie. We're so excited to be here. We were just talking, and this is like our first show in 4 months, so we're really excited to be here. Wish you could be here with us, but thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we're gonna start off with a song called Hard to Beat. Thank you guys. This next one is called Blue Skies.
I wake up on a sunny morning, blue skies, not a piece of gray. You gave me so much warning, so why do I feel this way? I'm hurt, not expecting this much pain from a man who let me slip down the drain. Slipping away, slipping away. When will I learn? Take a different turn. Too naive to conquer, but the days are getting longer. Wake me up on a cloudy morning. Wake me up on a cloudy day. So it's a blue morning. I've seen this day before. Now I watch your mornings as a fate that comes so clean. This time I ain't crying. This time I'm smiling. I'll take my things and go. Take one for the team. When will I learn? Take a different turn. Too naive to conquer, but the days are getting longer. Wake me up on a cloudy morning. Wake me up on a cloudy day. When will I learn? Take a different turn. Too naive to conquer, but the days are getting longer. Wake me up on a cloudy morning. Wake me up on a cloudy day. Give me warning, so I don't feel this way.
Yeah, thank you guys again so much for having us. We're so excited to be here. And yeah, this next one is called White Blossoms, and it's off our most recently released album, Flow of Color.
Remember back in the summer days, white blossoms and sitting up in that pear tree where nothing could touch me. Now that seems so recently, but I can barely see. Barely therefore, that was so long ago. Always feeling like it goes by so slow, but I'm in and it's out of reach. White blossoms surrounding me, that feeling of the summer heat, wasting my time away. The magic of the creek in my backyard, flowers picture a jar. Now that creek stays untouched, the flowers unpicked, has a cloud tip. That was so long ago, always feeling like it goes by so slow, but I've been and it's out of reach. White blossoms surrounding
this is going to be our last one, but thank you guys for tuning in. Sad we can't be here with you, but glad we can enjoy this experience and moment together. And thank you, Next Stage, for having us, and hope you guys are all donating to the Root Social Justice Center and the NAACP. And yeah, we're Moxie. Thank you guys so much.
It's summer now, it'll be gone soon. Bright warm days all throughout June. Let go of our worries, let go of our fears. My sweater still, it smells like you. And now you're gone, but you miss me too. When will you be back around? Hold on to me. I'll be everything you want me to be. Hold on to me. Summer fever, it's under my skin. When I was with you, it felt like home, so far away from alone. Tell me, where are you now? And I thought you weren't looking for much, but you said you wanted to keep in touch. Follow through, I'll come visit you. Hold on to me. I'll be everything you want me to be. Hold on to me. Summer fever, it's under my skin. Hold on to me. I'll be everything you want me to be. Hold on to me. Summer fever, it's under my skin.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for Moxie.
Wow! Woo! I feel like there should have been like a stadium of people applauding, and not to like 3 people in an empty theater. It's great. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. It was Moxie. Wow, amazing. I'm a new fan. That's great. My first time seeing Moxie. So I'm Keith Marks. I'm the executive director at Next Stage Arts Project here in Putney. You are watching Arts Unite Windham. I have a glow from live music happening around. We are really excited to have so many organizations coming together tonight to raise money for the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. So with me again is Kat McGraw, the Chief Medical Officer and Chief Information Officer at the Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. She's a board member at Next Stage, and she's a former board member of New England Center for Circus Arts. But one of the things that we want to discuss right now is the relationship between Corona, global health, public health, and racial equity. And you have so much data information to share, so please just start waxing philosophically.
I mean, we in Vermont have been incredibly
incredibly lucky right now at this point in time in terms of the spread of COVID. And, you look at the map of the United States, and Vermont is green, and our case numbers are low, and I feel very strange being up here without a mask on. I loved, and it's so sad, but I loved that the Moxie was wearing their masks while on stage, because it's what we need to do right now. In Vermont, we have tested nearly 100,000 people, about 97,000 people as of this morning. And we have, as of this morning, 1,426 positive cases across the state. So that's a lot, but a very small proportion of our population. But I think the key thing that I want to just mention is in terms of racial equity, we in Vermont are not immune to the difficulties of racial inequities in our healthcare. Because when you look at our positive COVID cases, they account for 18% of our positive cases here in Vermont. And as you've heard various folks, say in the discussions earlier in between events here, our population here is about 96% white. That is 4% people of color. So the fact that we have 18% positive case rate of people of color is just really, it's very, very difficult. And so we have to look at that. I think organizations, Danny spoke of this around the museum, having to self-examine and look at what kind of structural racism exists in their organization. Arts organizations need to do this, but healthcare as well. Racism is a public health crisis, and it's nowhere really shown as much as with COVID, which is just incredibly heartbreaking, but it means we have some really hard work to do. Vermont is collecting statistics around race and ethnicity with respect to COVID, and across the nation we are doing that as well, but that hasn't always been the case, and we're looking at it closely now. And then the question is, what do you do? How do you work with that? We at the hospital, Brattleboro Memorial, have had a group of folks talking about racism, racial equity, racial inequity for quite some time, and it has formally come together to really look at structural racism within healthcare, with our hospital itself, but also within within the broader context.
One of the things that you had said while we were in conversation while Moxie was playing was that racism is a public health emergency.
It absolutely is.
And I would love for you to elaborate on that for a minute or two.
Well, anytime there is any kind of a health crisis that disproportionately affects one group of people, that's a huge number of folks that we lose from the richness of our society. It's a huge wound to that group of folks that they then carry, that increased targeted sickness, and target is not the quite right word, but cohorted. And what is that? It's the structural racism. It's the microaggressions that mean people don't seek health care. It's socioeconomic issues that arise from the structural inequities that we have in our society. And so all of the things that we do to examine that, look at that, and correct that all move us a little bit closer to more equity within our healthcare and in our world.
Well, thank you for helping us kind of understand that. These are stats and statistics that I wasn't aware of, and I'm sure a lot of people watching had no idea of. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being
my pleasure. I'm so happy that we're doing this.
Health and yeah, it's great. So we're going to move into the last performance of the evening. Please don't go anywhere because we have a video from Sheila Linton, one of the co-founders of the Root Social Justice Center, communicating, sort of wrapping everything up. So we hope you'll stick with us. We're going to go over to the Brattleboro Music Center, and they're going to go and they're going to be performing a collaborative dance and music piece from the Brattleboro Music Center trio. And now we'll go over to Zon East. Thank you, BMC.
Hello and welcome. My name is Zon Eastis, and I'm here with two of my favorite colleagues to play a piece by Johann Sebastian Bach. Two movements from his G major trio sonata, which was originally written for flute. I'd like to just talk for a moment about the idea that while this entire event, which I think is incredibly cool, is about equity and justice, social justice, it's true that we're playing Bach from a long, long time ago. But if you think about Bach in terms of what was going on in his mind at the time, diversity works here. Because Bach wrote this piece for 2 flutes originally when he was in his middle 20s, and then he wrote it again for a gamba and a keyboard player. Bach used his own music over and over and over in lots of different ways and put it back together in different ways, creating new ensembles all the time. So here we are, the 3 of us, ready to play this piece for you, and we're going to go a bit further with diversity in interpretation because we're adding a wonderful young friend of ours, Oliver Green-Kramer, who's going to dance and interpret this music for us. So that's probably not something Bach would have seen or probably would have loved so much, but we love it, so we're going to go forward with it, especially today in this time. Oliver is, maybe you heard about Oliver a little bit, but I'd just like to say that it's been a real pleasure to work with him. He's here from Texas visiting. Now he's a dancer in Austin Ballet, but we're lucky to be able to work with him in this piece, and it's a really wonderfully beautiful piece. And I'd like to just say also thank you to everyone who has been a part of this entire event, either through donation, by listening, or whichever way you've engaged. It's really an opportunity for Brattleboro and Windham County to pull itself together in the name of arts and culture, and it feels really great. So I hope you enjoyed this piece. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. I am Keith Marks. I'm the Executive Director at Next Stage Arts. It has been a pleasure to host Arts Unite Windham. I just wanted to say, to echo something that had come up earlier, building community is about building trust. And so I really want to say thank you to the organization, the people around the organizations who believed in stepping up and doing something like this. The real heroes of the day really need to be BCTV. We have a really a gift in having BCTV. They're incredibly professional and they problem solved, and this was not an easy thing, doing a multi-venue live stream fundraiser. And so if you can, reach out to BCTV and let them know you appreciated it. They really are an organization that's doing great work. I want to thank everybody at Next Stage. I want to thank Julian McBrown, running sound all night for us, Barry Stockwell on staff, Neil Goldberg, volunteer running the chat, NECA, VJC, BMC, Latchis, Sandglass, NEYT. I want to say thank you to all of you guys, all the organizations that came together, meetings, and not really sure how this is going to come together. There was trust there. I want to thank our graphic designer who designed all the collateral, Erica Radcliffe, all the donors who donated this evening. I really would like for you to find the link. Keep sharing it out with people in the community. Let's raise money and raise awareness and really shine this light as bright as we can get it. I want to thank our media, the Commons, VPR, the Reformer, the Keene Sentinel. These are organizations that took up and saw this and helped us magnify what we're doing. I want to thank Stefan Gillum, Wendy O'Connell, Kat McGraw, Sharon Fantel, Danny Lichtenfeld, Sarah Coffey, and Robert McBride for being guest MCs and believing here and coming up. And more than anything, I want to thank the Root Social Justice Center and the Windham County NAACP. They put an awful lot of trust into something that they also didn't really fully understand what it was when we sort of pitched it to them. So thank you very much. We're going to close with Sheila Linton. She's one of the co-founders of the Root Social Justice Center. I hope that as she's speaking, you'll click the link and make a donation if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. From here at Next Stage, we say thank you and good evening.
Hello, everyone. What an amazing show presented to us by the many art groups around Windham County. I'm personally thankful that I live in a county and a community that honors the arts and is able to be creative, providing opportunities for us to access the amazing talents we have here in our community. Thank you to all the performers, the Arts Unite Windham, Next Stage Arts, Brattleboro Community Television, and the many more for hosting this event. This concert is an example of what is possible when we take time to cultivate relationships, build connections, honor the arts, and intentionally know that our gifts are needed in building a movement for change. The Root thanks all the artists for their talent and for contributing your gifts to help support the local growing organizations on the front lines, dismantling white supremacy and growing a movement for racial justice. My name is Sheila Linton, and I am one of the co-founders of the Root Social Justice Center. I currently serve as one of the Root's directors and as the program coordinator for the organization. The Root was founded in 2012 and provides a physically and financially accessible space in southern Vermont, here in Brattleboro, where I live, for social justice groups to meet and is a hub for racial justice organizing. The Root prioritizes people of color leadership and shifting resources to people of color-led racial justice work. We are growing a movement for racial justice. Where some other organizations, due to COVID-19, may be pausing or maybe have even slowed down, our work at the Root as an all-POC-led organization has doubled due to the disparities in the pandemic, the uprising of folks around the county and the nation, and the needs of our community, in particular the BIPOC folks, our Black, Indigenous people of color. The Root is in full operation, even during this time that our physical location is closed for health and safety reasons. Your donation ensures the ability for this important work to continue. We thank you in advance for watering our roots. With your donation, you are directly supporting the lives of Black and Brown people in your community and supporting us and being able to offer mutual aid and create a supportive network among BIPOC and BIPOC folks and among BIPOC and non-BIPOC communities. With your donations, we are able to continue to provide safer spaces for safer spaces as a physical location or with online programming for BIPOC to grow, learn, heal, and thrive. By supporting the Root, you have an opportunity to build a larger movement with us that we hope can foster relationships with our people, healing for our communities, and accountability to BIPOC folk and BIPOC-led organizations. We at the Root know that we need collective perspectives and gifts in the movement for Black lives and racial justice. We hope all of you who have performed will continue to use your gifts as a platform to raise awareness and build relationships. And for all of you who are watching, we hope that you too will use your gifts in accountability with communities of color to grow the movement for racial justice. On behalf of the Root, we thank you all and have a good evening.